Good afternoon, everyone. It's now 6:30 p.m. and the Louisville Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of September 1st, 2015 is now called to order. Before we begin the agenda, I'd like to turn the floor over to Richard, our planning department.
Chairman Davis, members of the commission, it's my pleasure tonight to introduce two of our newest staff members. To my right, we have June Sin. She is our new Planner 1. She has previously been our planning intern for about the last 4 months. So we're very happy to have her on board. And then to her right, we have Prit Patel. She is our new Economic Development Coordinator. She's been in that position now for about 2 months. So we're very happy to be staffed up again and have some excellent folks in both of those positions. So just wanted to introduce these new staff members to you this evening.
Okay, thank you and welcome. We appreciate you. Okay, there is a quorum present. Second item is approval of the minutes of the August 18th, 2015 meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Moved by Brandon.
Second.
Seconded by Kristen. Those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 3 is a public hearing for consent agenda for plats. There is a 3A and a 3B. I'll read both of them together. Staff will discuss both of them together, and we will vote as one public hearing unless objections come either from the staff, the public, or the commission. 3A is the final plat of Wendell Meadows Edition, Phase 1, lots 1R and 2R, Block N. This is a 3.962 acre tract. It's zoned General Business, GB, is located on the northwest corner of Windhaven Parkway and Farm to Market Road 544, and it's being a replat of Wendell Meadows Edition Phase 1, Lot 1, Block N. Item 3B is the final plat of Verona Edition. It is a 30.109 acre tract. It is zoned Estate Townhouse, ETH, containing 138 residential lots, 11 open space lots, 1 drainage right-of-way, and 1 sanitary sewer right-of-way. It's located at the northwest quadrant of McGee Lane and Farm to Market 407. This is being replat of the Verona Edition. Sir?
Thank you, Chairman Davis. Both of the plats before you tonight do not have any requested variances. They have been reviewed by city staff, and city staff has determined that both of the plats meet all of the minimum standards of our zoning ordinance and our general development ordinance. Be glad to answer any questions, and I believe we have representatives from both of the plats present tonight as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions?
None for me.
Okay, at this time we'll open up the public hearing. If anyone wishes to come forward, please come up to the podium, state your name, and sign in.
How you doing, Mr. Chairman? My name is Larry Kirk, and I live on the northwest end of the construction site. And my concern was that there was a property divider line between the retainer wall and the back of my property, which measures out at 3 feet. Okay, and I had several trees that were actually in that plot, which to my understanding, that was part of my property line. I'm a little nervous. I apologize for that. But what it is, I was just wondering, that's supposed to be 3 feet behind my retainer wall was actually my property. Is there going to be an easeway back there? Is there going to be another retainer wall built there? Or are they just going to be is that just going to be part of my neighbor's backyard? Because to my understanding, the fence divided the properties between the field behind me and my home. And there's a whole row of us on that back side that has the same issue with that. And we've called, I called the city code enforcement a couple of times, and we were told that there was going to be a retainer wall built there. But if there's a 3-foot gap there, how's that going to work as far as maintaining it, or rodents, or flooding, or anything like that? You know, I just wondering, is it a land grab? Do I just lose my land like that or what?
The plat is based on a survey of the property that ties down the exact property lines. I can meet with you after the meeting and we can look at the full-size plat that shows where those lines fall. And,
Do you know the fence that I'm talking about though, that divided the property?
yeah, we can locate your property, because all adjacent properties will be shown on that plat, and we can visit with you, and if we can also refer to the construction plans, which will show additional details. We may have to make an appointment to meet during the day, because those plans will be in engineering, but we'll be glad to look up that information for you to provide some clarification on how that all lays out.
Okay, because my abstract shows what my exact footage is between across from my house and the depth of my lot. So that's what I'm going by, and, you know, so if that's correct, you know, that's 3 foot behind that retaining wall belongs to us.
We'll be glad to look into that with you and show you the plans that we have.
Okay.
Mr. Kirk, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
This is Mahesh Gajala, residing at 3801 West Spring Creek Parkway, Plano. I'm the applicant for 3A. I don't have any comments, but I would like to just take this opportunity to thank the city staff, Jeff Kelly, Mary Perrin, and the rest of the staff, and also Richard. I would like to tell they are the excellent staff. And I worked with many cities. My experience here was very, very good. So I would like to share that and thank you once again to the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's very good to hear. And you'll pass that on to the rest of the staff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, anyone else? If not, the public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, comments, concerns, questions on either 3A or 3B? If not, may I have a motion?
Move to approve?
Move to approve. Move to approve by Sean, seconded by Mary Ellen. Those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 4 is a regular hearing. It is 2 parts, 4A and 4B. We'll do the same thing as far as the reading goes. Get my bifocals in condition here. Consideration of a final plat, development plan and project plan for Windhaven Crossing Addition, Phase A, Section 1. This is a 5.748 acre tract. It is zoned PUD2 under Ordinance 4128-10-2014. It's containing 60 residential lots, 2 HOA lots. It is located on the southwest corner of State Highway 121 and the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad, as requested by Texas Development Services on behalf of CADG Windhaven LLC, the property owner. Item B is consideration of a final plat, development plan, and project plan for Windhaven Crossing Addition, Phase B. This is a Section 1, and it is 8.408 acre tract. It's zoned PUD. It's under Ordinance 4128-10-2014. It's containing 90 residential lots, 8 HOA lots, located in the southeast corner of State Highway 121 and the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. As requested by Texas Department Development Services on behalf of CADG Windhaven LLC, the property owner. Richard?
Chairman Davis, members of the commission, the 2 plats before you tonight are part of a planned unit development that was approved last year. Our PUD ordinance requires that any the final plats associated with PUDs must be accompanied by the development plan and project plan to complete the zoning process. So those 3 documents are kind of tied together before you tonight, and they must go on to the city council for final approval. The 2 plats are separated by a railroad track. It's one large overall development of 34 acres and an ultimate 371 attached residential lots. Both of these plats represent the first phase of each section. Section A, which I believe is on the southwest corner of 121 and the railroad, contains 60 residential lots, and then Phase B is on the southeast corner of the railroad tracks and 121, and it contains 90 residential lots. Both of the plats, along with their companion development plans and project plans, meet all of the minimum standards of the zoning ordinance, the general development ordinance, and the adopted plan unit development. I'll be glad to answer any questions, and staff recommends that the P&Z recommend approval to the council for both items. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners? I think we had a lot of questions answered the last time they came for the original plans. Okay, having no discussion, may I have a motion to recommend approval to the city council?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by
We will
Brandon.
need- We will need separate votes on each of these items. They can be discussed and presented together, but will need to be voted on separately.
Okay, my error. We're voting on 4A first, and that is the 4A.
Move to approve 4A.
Okay, move to approve 4A by Brandon,
Second.
seconded by Steve. Those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4B. Discussion, anything? Okay, may I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve item B.
Motion
Second.
approved by item B by Alvin, and seconded by Mary Ellen. Those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Both of those plats will be considered by the city council on Monday, September the 14th at 6 o'clock p.m.
Thank you.
7 o'clock p.m.
Thank you. Item 5 is public hearing on zoning ordinance amendments. This is consideration of the amendments of Chapter 17 zoning of the Louisville City Code by repealing and replacing the chapter in its entirety, altering definitions, modifying, deleting, and adding uses within the zoning districts, replacing the PUD, Planned Unit Development District, with a new Planned Development PD District, and revising regulations within the various mixed-use districts.
Thank you, Chairman Davis. The product before you tonight is about 6 months of work. It's basically, in a nutshell, a general cleanup of the ordinance. Staff constantly keeps a list of issues that come up that need to be addressed in the ordinance. And about once every year or two, we will kind of pull all those together, make those adjustments, and then run it through the process for approval. What we've provided in the staff report is kind of a bullet list. I believe there's over 200 edits that were redlined in your packet, so I'm sure that made for some very interesting reading for all of you. I will kind of briefly go over these, and then if there's any additional questions, we can cover those at the end. The first thing were some additional definitions. We added new definitions for breweries, distilleries, wineries, and plant nurseries. As far as use assignments, we placed communication towers as an SUP in the LC district, and keep in mind anything that's in the LC district carries over to the general business, light industrial, and heavy industrial. We added plant nursery with retail sales to LC. Plant nurseries with outdoor display or storage requires an SUP in LC. We added the term recreational vehicle to the listing for auto, boat, motorcycle, or mobile home display, sales, and repair in the GB district as an SUP. We added brewery, distillery, or winery to general business, Old Town Mixed Use 2, the Mixed Use Shopping Center, the Mixed Use, and the Mixed Use 90. As a permitted use, we used added bar as an SUP to the OTC and the OTMU2 district. And we added motor freight terminal to the warehouse district. I think one of the biggest changes was the new PD district, which was replacing the old PUD. The whole purpose of that was to really streamline the process It's basically the same process, but most of the activity and all of the commitments, I guess, on behalf of the owner takes place at the time of zoning, where they'll have to submit a narrative and a concept plan that kind of locks in everything. So you get the full package one time compared to the current PUD. It's kind of a three-step process, and things have to keep coming back before P&Z and council. So that will make the platting processes a little bit easier without having to bring all of the issues back up that were really dealt with at the time of zoning. We also made quite a few amendments to the mixed-use districts. The first one was reducing the minimum square footage of accessory dwelling units and multifamily units in the mixed-use districts from 850 square feet to 650 square feet. That is primarily in response to market conditions. It's very wise to kind of stay on top of what the market is demanding. And throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, rents are going up higher, which is demanding smaller units, but the smaller units and the higher rents are demanding a higher quality. So it is kind of a trade-off, but we do want to kind of stay kind of in the average of what the market is demanding. Other edits to the mixed-use districts include removing the 30 designation from the MU30. Since so much of Louisville is built out, we need to build in as much flexibility as possible, and limiting these mixed-use districts to 30 acres was creating some problems. So therefore, it's just a standalone mixed use without a minimum acreage. We did keep the MU90 district intact, though, because we do already have development on the ground with that zoning. So we wanted to keep that intact. New descriptions were provided for both the MU and the MU90. We did adjust the setback and height requirements in all of the mixed-use districts, again, to respond to market conditions. And we removed the density limits from OT MU1 and 2, as well as adjusted the minimum lot sizes. Just other miscellaneous amendments, we revised the setback requirements in the medical district. I believe we had some somewhat cumbersome requirements with setbacks, so we kind of made corrections there. We added a meets and bounds description to the SUP submittal requirements, which is kind of a standard item, but it needed to be articulated in the ordinance. We added a reference to adoptive comprehensive plans or small area plans in the SUP approval criteria, which is legally is a good thing to base our decisions on. And then the rest of throughout the ordinance was just general formatting corrections, deletion of non-applicable provisions, and then there were some areas where we provided general clarification on confusing or unclear provisions. So with that, staff recommends approval, or recommends that the P&Z recommend approval to the City Council of the proposed zoning ordinance amendments as submitted. I do have a hard copy. If you have any particular questions, I could put those up here on the screen. And with that, before we open the public hearing, I'll open it up to the commission for any particular questions that any of you may have.
I do.
Yes, sir.
So specifically, you mentioned distillery, adding or changing distillery in here. And I know that we have one under construction right now with the old Piggly Wiggly building, Witherspoon's.
Right.
That's a couple of weeks away from CO, it looks like.
Right.
So, does that have any bearing on that?
That was a cleanup. We had provisions whereby we could make kind of a loose interpretation that was a permitted use.
Okay.
This provides a lot more details on that use and gives us a little bit better legal standing versus having kind of a loose interpretation on a service. And that's why we added, wineries, distilleries, and what was the other one? And breweries. Becoming very, very popular, particularly in these mixed-use walkable environments.
Right.
So we kind of followed the lead of many other cities in the Metroplex and adding those to our mixed-use districts and clarifying those definitions.
That's all I had.
Kristen?
I had a question on the density limits on the Old Town Mixed Use 1 and 2. Are they just gone completely, or was it just
There's other items in there that kind of really regulates what the density can be. And really in looking at the overall plan for Old Town, more density is good. That promotes more walkability, more mixture of uses, more commerce, and we took that out under the premise of that being adding a little bit more flexibility, because if you got a good project and it slightly goes over the set density, it's very hard to regulate, and we didn't want that to be a limiting factor to a really good project. We have other things like the height limits, parking requirements, landscaping requirements. All of those go to kind of regulate the overall density. So sometimes they can kind of work against each other. So
the concern was that you were worried that there could be some projects that were too dense according to our ordinances, correct? So you just took the requirement out, but does that mean that there's a possibility that something that's less dense than we want?
yeah, something less dense could go. That was a maximum density.
It was a maximum density, not a minimum density?
Correct. They were maximum densities, and we may have a project if all of the other requirements are met may go over that, and that would be a ceiling for them. And for instance, if there was a project that had 36 units per acre, but the limit was 30, that project may not be feasible without that extra 6 units per acre. As long as they meet we felt that the regulations of building height and the different setbacks, the minimum floor areas, all kind of go to make a quality development where a lot of times the density limits can be very arbitrary, can be very limiting, and that's something we didn't want to encumber the Old Town area with having some density limits that might limit us on some otherwise really good projects that would meet the overall goals and vision for the Old Town area.
Okay, and so the minimum lot size, did that go up or was it adjusted down?
Let's see, let me just take a look at that item right quick. OTMU 2, which is our mixed use. For single family and two family, we still have, we have a maximum height of 45 feet or 3.5 stories. That remained unchanged. We have a minimum dwelling unit size. No front yard setback is required. Side kind of depends on the situation. If you're next to there shall be a side yard on each side of the lot having a width of not less than 5 feet. That was adjusted. Rear yard was actually increased. If a residential garage adjoins a rear alley, then the rear yard must be 4 feet, just to allow for maneuverability if there's rear garages. As far as lot sizes, I believe the OTMU2 had a lot size. It's really all kind of on a case-by-case basis. Like I said, usually the limiting factors are usually building height, and most of them are providing garages. So again, that takes up a lot of the room. But the height is probably the most limiting factor that we have. You can only fit so many units on a given property with garages, and if they only can go up a certain height, then that's really your true limiting factors for your density versus kind of an arbitrary density limit.
Communication towers, is the height governed by the city code or by the FAA or
FCC.
FCC?
I believe on April 1st, new federal regulations took effect, governed by the FCC or regulated by the FCC. So we kind of cleaned up our ordinance. Again, this is another instance where we're wanting to be a little bit more solid legal footing. In the past, a lot of the existing cell towers were allowed under some kind of loose interpretations with some of the more broad categories that were listed in our ordinance. And the city attorney always advises that the more specific that we can be, especially for uses such as cell towers, the better legal footing the city is on.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you. This time we'll open up the public hearing. Anyone wishes to speak, they may come forward, sign in, and state your name. Okay, having no one come forward, the public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, discussion, questions, concerns, comments? Okay. If not, may I have a motion to recommend approval to the city council for the changes in there?
Recommend approval.
Second. Go ahead.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Steve, seconded by Kristen. Those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimously carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item will be presented to the city council on Monday, September the 14th at 7 p.m. for final approval.
All right, thank you. Last item is number 6, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Moved to adjourn by Brandon,
Second.
seconded by Mary Ellen. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.